Sustainability has been the buzzword for quite some time, but the industry is starting to realize that sustainability might not be the end goal. Maybe now is the time to start looking at regeneration. BKB saw a need to focus on taking its clients on a regenerative journey, and Bronwyn Botha explains the motivation behind this in today's episode of Farm TV. That is only one of the items on today's menu, but before we get into that, let's switch over to Lisa for the news first.
Elanco, we are driven by our vision of food and companionship, enriching life.
In today's news, China's ban on the import of greasy wool from South Africa was recently lifted with immediate effect. This has been verbally conveyed to Cape Wool's SA through the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. According to Cape Wool's SA CEO Dion Simon, the industry is relieved the ban has been lifted without the imposition of any additional conditions. This means the health certificate they have been using since 2019 remains unchanged. According to Agri SA, this ban jeopardized more than 35,000 jobs and an additional 4,500 seasonal jobs. 'n Nuwe Suid-Afrikaanse rekordprys is onlangs vir 'n Ile-de-France stoetram losgeslaan. BS 190120 van Hageland Ile-de-France het R120,000 op hul tweede jaarlikse Jacaranda Ile-de-France veiling by die Fire en Wyn Arena in Pretoria behaal. Die koper was Woon Olkers van die Solstice Stadfarm naby Vanderbijlpark in Gauteng. Die vorige rekordprys vir 'n Ile-de-France stoetram was R105,000. And data released by Statistics South Africa shows that in July 2022, the consumer food price inflation accelerated by 10.1% year on year. This is up from 9.0% year on year in the previous month. This is the fastest pace since January 2017, which was a drought period in agriculture. According to Wandile Sihlobo of Agbiz, the higher global grain and oilseed prices for much of the first half of this year have been the drivers of the costs in the consumer food price inflation basket. And that's today's news.
BKB, die betroubare tuiste van landbou.
What exactly is regenerative agriculture? With me today is Bronwyn Botha from BKB Wool and Mohair. Bronwyn, thank you very much. Please answer that question.
So regenerative agriculture is basically farming with nature. So it just accepts in certain inalienable truths that nature is very complex, highly balanced and interconnected, and that everything, the vegetation has been developed in line with predator-prey relationships. And we no longer have a fully natural functioning world. Human beings exist in this landscape, but there are ways that you can farm using your livestock to mimic natural processes and to basically encourage ecosystem services. And that is what regenerative agriculture is.
So what are the benefits for farmers?
So being able to actually be regenerative of your landscape means that your farm has a regenerative quality to it, which means if you're improving ecosystem services on your farm, you're unlocking services that nature provides for free, which means you should be able to reduce your inputs, the need for supplementary feeding, the need for fertilizers. also what happens is the healthier your felt is and the better your ecosystem services are going, the more productive your felt is. So the more productive your felt is, the more valuable your business actually becomes, because you're now having to be able to stock stocking rates higher than you have in the past. You've got better carrying capacities, and healthy animals, because of healthy felt, means higher quality animals. So improved wool and mohair is ultimately our game.
When we spoke earlier, you mentioned that you only joined BKB recently, earlier this year. So that's a brand new field for BKB. How is BKB involved?
So BKB does a lot for their clients. We do a lot more than just buy and sell wool. What we do is we're having constant negotiations and talks with brands and end markets. And we definitely see that there is a movement. We've always known about sustainability, and there was this great movement towards sustainability. But now we're realizing that sustainability might not be the end goal. Maybe now is the time to start looking at regeneration. So sustainability almost makes it sound like you're staying the same, where regeneration is really starting to encourage a movement forward. So what happened is that BKB saw a need to start looking at sustainability within the business, but also starting to look at how do we actually take our clientele on this regenerative journey. And so one of the things we've been busy with at the moment is we've been developing a system to try and help take our clients on this journey. So one thing that's very important to understand is that we recognize that so many of our clients are already on a regenerative journey in some way or another. So if you weren't being regenerative, you couldn't really keep it in line with your business. You couldn't, you need to be, your felt needs to be doing what it needs to be doing in order for you to make a business of it. So what we want to do is we wanted a system that could recognize, firstly, what is already happening in terms of regeneration on a farm, identify the gaps of maybe where things could be improved, and then start looking at how do we unlock opportunities and capacity to help the farmers deal with those gaps and take them forward. And the system recognizes one thing that's also very critical is every single farm is totally unique. So it will be unique in terms of its habitat makeup, but it's also unique in terms of the farmer's objectives and the farmer's resources. So different farmers are achieving different levels of regeneration through the tools that they have. And so if we can't prescribe how regenerative agriculture is going to happen on a person's farm, then how do we really start taking them on this journey and being able to actually say that the end goal in the market and saying, look, our farmers are regenerative? And the answer of that is to literally, let's start putting in monitoring systems that will be able to start tracking the impact that the farmer is having with their management. So regardless of how the farmer implements his management on the farm, that monitoring will be able to show whether that management is actually being effective or not. And all we're wanting to see in the future is a positive trend over time. Being able to have monitoring like that means that you can be adaptive, and you can be adaptive in your management, which means you can start identifying when things are not going the way you want them to and tweak them before that they become big problems. And that's critical. And I think it's also important to understand that this recipe changes, the environment changes all the time. She's constantly throwing us with new challenges. So there is so much trial and error, and there's going to be mistakes that are made. But the ultimate goal is a farmer in line to identify those mistakes or identify where things are not working, identify where things are working, and start putting the resources in to encourage more of those positive outcomes. And that is what BKB is striving to support their farmers in doing right now.
Our thanks go to Bronwyn Botha from BKB, and we did discuss regenerative agriculture.
BKB, the trusted home of agriculture. ABE Biotech, Fermentasie is gelyk aan prestasie.
Goeiedag, in die week se kommoditeitprysverslag sien ons dat BSA-graad pryse met 1.6% gestyg het. Die prys van C-grade styg met 4.1%. Die speenkalfprys daal met 0.4%. Skaap A-grade se prys is onveranderd, terwyl C-grade gestyg het met 2.6% en die speenlamprys daal met 0.8%. Ons sien ook dat die varkprys met 0.6% gestyg het. Die wolprys het gestyg met 7.7%, die prys van geelmedies het gestyg met 6.4%, terwyl die koringprys met 1.8% gedaal het. Ons sien dat die sojaboonprys gestyg het met 4.3%, die sonneblomprys het gestyg met 3.8%, terwyl die rand verswak het teenoor die dollar met 0.8% en versterk het teenoor die euro met 0.9%.
Dis vir ons baie lekker om julle almal weer welkom te heet by ons Ede Boeredag en Veiling. Dis die 4de ene wat gaan plaasvind op die 28ste September. En ons tema vir die Boeredag is georganiseerde strukture binne die suiwelbedryf. Die boodskap wat ons wil oordra is die suiwelbedryf is te klein dat ons moet fraktureer. Ons moet saamwerk. Die vennote wat gaan deelneem aan die bespreking gaan wees SA Stamboek, LNR, Jersey SA, SA Holstein en die MPO. Die vraag wat ek vir elkeen gevra het is om my te kom sê en vir die boere te kom sê, hoekom moet ek lid wees van jou organisasie? Wat beteken jy vir die suiwelbedryf? Ons hoop om weer omtrent rondom 100 mense te kry vir die Boeredag, soos wat ons die vorige 2 jare gehad het. Wat ons veiling aan betref is ons baie trots vanjaar. Ons gaan 24 eerste laktasie koetjies aanbied, wat strek van midlaktasie tot vars en melk. Ek is baie trots op die aanbieding. Ek dink is 'n klomp baie besonderse koetjies. Ons het besluit om ons hand so 'n bietjie in ons sak te steek en een besonderse koetjie uit te haal vir die veiling. En dit is 20072. Sy is 'n Modesto dogter. Modesto is bekend vir uitstekende eiers en vir lekker sterk koeie. Sy het gepiek op 57 liter. Sy het sommer net so uit die bondel uitgespring en sy is geprojekteer vir 'n 13.500. Dis 'n baie besonderse koetjie met uitstekende eier. Sy is ook deel van ons skouspan vir die nasionale prestasietoets skou wat aanlyn gaan plaasvind. Die 2 bulle vir die veiling kom al 2 uit hierdie koeifamilie uit. Dis uit haar en uit haar halfsuster uit. Is al 2 SSI Joe Super Rocket Fire seuns. Lot 1 op die veiling is 'n SSI Joe Super Rocket Fire seun uit 'n 5-star koei uit. Die 5-star koei het 'n 89 punt vir haar eier en sy is geprojekteer vir 'n 14.000 derde laktasie. Dis 'n baie besonderse koeifamilie met baie hoë vaste stowwe. Die billetjie se ma se vaste stowwe is 3.8, 3.9 vir bottervet met 'n 3.2, 3.3 vir proteïen. Die familie is baie bekend vir hoë vaste stowwe. Dis 'n koeifamilie wat ons in Carolina by Teens Pretoria gaan koop het en hier by ons kom ontwikkel het. Lot 2 op die veiling is ook 'n SSI Joe Super Rocket Fire seun. Hy kom uit 'n Jackhammer ma uit. Jackhammer is 'n bil wat teruggaan na die J-familie van de Grendel. Lot 2 se ma, ons het haar ongelukkig verloor. Sy's 'n Jackhammer dogter. Sy is tot huidiglik nog die koei met die hoogste teelwaarde vir bottervet in die kudde. Haar laaste laktasie was ook 14.000 kg melk. So dis 2 billetjies wat uit hoë produksie koeie kom met hoë vaste stowwe. En Rocket Fire is 'n bil wat bekend is vir baie hoë melkproduksie. So ek hoop dat elkeen wat na ons Boeredag toe kom iets gaan terugvat huis toe. Al is dit nie 'n koei nie. Ek hoop jy kom kry 'n bietjie pitkos en gaan wees positief, want in hierdie land van ons moet ons positief wees. As jy positief is, gaan jy wen. Jy gaan oor jou oppositie hardloop. Maar sodra jy begin negatief raak, gaan jy die reisies verloor. Dis 'n great land hierdie van ons. Ons moet net positief wees en dan gaan jy dit maak.
BKB, die betroubare tuiste van landbou. BKB, the trusted home of agriculture. Standard Bank. It can be.